people in the rainforest and in the jungle, those people are more like, I would say, wild in a way, because the jungle is more intense.
Welcome to TBH with Vitra. That's short for Travel Beyond Home. I'm your host, Vitra, and this is a place where culture meets connection. To me, travel is more than stamps on a passport. It's about listening to the stories that truly define a place, daily routines, traditions that have been passed down, and the small, beautiful details we learn by getting to know the locals. I've got a big goal, and I need your help to spread the word. I want to talk to one woman from every country in the world, and in doing so, create a sort of global sisterhood, one country and one conversation at a time. Each episode is a doorway into a new way of seeing the world, filled with curiosity and laughter. Today, we are traveling to Peru. With a population of about 34 million, Peruvians trace their ancestry to a rich blend of indigenous civilizations, Spanish colonists, enslaved Africans, and later, waves of Asian immigrants, making it one of the most diverse places in Latin America. Once the heart of the Inca Empire, Peru is a country where ancient traditions still live on in festivals, food, and everyday life. It's also one of the most geographically unique nations in the world, with the Pacific coastline, the Andes Mountains, and the Amazon rainforest all within its borders. And beyond Machu Picchu, Peru is known for its world-class cuisine, its mysterious Nazca lines, and its people, warm, resilient, and endlessly creative. And speaking of creativity, my guest today is Lizeth Yarlicay, a documentary filmmaker, producer, researcher, and fixer from Peru. Originally trained as an architect, she changed her career after finding her true passion in storytelling when she did an internship at a production company in Belfast, Ireland 8 years ago. Since then, she's founded Humana Films, motivated by her desire to share uplifting human, cultural, and environmental stories from Peru. Lizeth has worked on projects for top global broadcasters, and she is currently correspondent for the Dutch TV program Metropolis. You can find out more about her and her work at humanafilms.com. Lizeth, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Vitra. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to share this with another woman about my culture.
Thank you. So I like to start these episodes with a bit of fun. And it's called the lightning round of questions and answers. So how it works is I'm going to set 3 minutes on a timer. And I'm basically going to ask a series of questions. Just answer the first thing that comes to mind. And let's see how many we can answer. Okay. What is the national dish of Peru?
Ceviche. Ceviche is like a dish. This is from the coast. This is from the ocean, and it's like a dish made by raw fish, cooked by lemons and some onions and some spices. But that's what we eat everywhere in the coast.
When you are outside of Peru, what do you miss the most about home?
Food, for sure. Always food.
If Peru had an emoji, what would it be?
A colorful llama.
Describe Peruvians in a few words.
Well, Peruvians are creative, funny, caring for people, and especially for international travelers.
What is the first thing you are going to eat when you get back home?
Lomo saltado, which is a dish with meat, onions, and tomatoes and fried potatoes.
What is your favorite place in Peru?
It's Cusco. It's the land of the Incas in the Andes.
What is a typical breakfast in Peru?
Typical breakfast, it's with tamal. Tamal is a dish made by corn that inside has chicken or pork, and it's like the outside is cooked by the leaf of banana plants. And also chicharrones, which is like fried pork as well, that is accompanied with the tamales and coffee.
Where do you feel the most creative?
Well, when I'm outdoors. When I'm walking outdoors in the mountains or doing hiking or like looking at the ocean, when I'm around nature, that's the favorite part, to be more creative.
Okay, we have about 1 minute left. Machu Picchu, what is your advice for altitude sickness from a local?
Chew coca leaves. That's for sure the main thing we do in the Andes and for a high altitude. For us, the coca leaves are sacred plant. This is something that many people just confuse it like, oh, this is like cocaine. And cocaine is a different thing. It's nothing to do with that. Cocaine is an industrial stuff, but coca leaves are very healthy healthy medicinal plant. So this is very helpful for high altitude.
What is one of your favorite Peruvian customs?
When we can be friendly easily with people, for example, if I go to the market, it's very nice to hear people like calling you, "Hey, my darling, my beautiful, come here, buy here." And then you start chatting with people anywhere in the markets, on the road, in the stores. And it's people is very open to talk about their life, and it's easy to share things.
Okay, good. Those were great answers. And I'm even more curious about some things with Peru now. So I want to get into Peruvian culture and traditions. Tell us about growing up in Peru and what your childhood was like and what traditions you remember the most.
The most traditional things that I remember, and it's part of our culture indeed, it's that at home we usually don't have, or in the past especially, we didn't have like a lot of medicines, and everything was mostly like trusted on plants, and even we had books of the best recipes on how to cure different sickness with plants. I remember having this in the kitchen of my house. Right now, we still have these medicines, but most of the time now there are women in the markets who can prepare this mix of things for you to cure at home. And that's something very unique in Peru that I haven't seen in Europe or, United States or Canada. But we still have this as a normal thing for us. So the first aid kit we have at home are always plants or teas, or we go to the market and ask the woman in the market what is good for the cold or the gastritis or the stomach, and that's the first aid medicine that we have. I used to be sick a lot when I was a child, so that was part of my life.
So in my intro, I mentioned about the diversity that exists within Peru. Can you share a little bit of your ethnic background and how it shaped the woman you are today?
Peru is very interesting because I think it's one of the few countries that we have coast, Andes, and the jungle. And each one have different, like a different culture, different music, different languages, and different rituals as well. So I come from the coast. My roots come from Mochica culture, which is a culture that runs from 200 to 600 years after Christ. That was before the Incas even. And then in the Andes, we have the Incas. So they were like biggest empire there. And then in the jungle, we have a lot of cultures like Chipibos, Ashanicas, Matses, different tribes that still exist these days. And this is a great thing because in the 80s, many of the people from the different provinces of Peru, they emigrate to the city, to Lima. So now in Lima, we are a mix of children that now is in my generation with parents who came from different areas of Peru, but now we're all together in Lima. We know to each other for the different backgrounds that everybody came from the past with the parents. And this is why I believe it's also rich in our food, because now we are all together as a country. In the past, it used to be a lot of racism now still exists, but it's not as strong as in the past. Now we are more together. And how it runs my life right now as the person I am, I'm very proud. I'm very proud because Peru has a lot of history and culture, and especially in the coast of Peru, most of the leaders of the communities in the past were women, which is something that people don't say much. Maybe that was also happening in different other cultures, but especially in my culture, in Mochica and along the coast, most of the leaders were women. They found these bodies like in the archaeological places. And that made me very proud. I think people and women in Peru in general are very strong and very workaholic women, and they run the families very well, strong, and had a lot of personality.
I know that in Peru, it's an integration of maybe religion and nature, your relationship with the land. So in growing up, did one lead more than the other, or is it truly a mix of, your religion and, the ancestry?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because if you go to Peru like these days, there's a lot of people who goes to the church. Catholicism was very strong, and it is there are a lot of churches and people follow, especially for Easter holiday. There's a lot of people following these rituals with the church. However, this is a mix of things because what happened is like in the past, before the Spanish arrived, all our cultures were related with the sun and the moon and the universe and all this nature around us. But after the Spanish, the only way that the indigenous could keep doing their rituals were with the condition that they celebrate under a saint name or a virgin virgin name. So, for example, if they had a ritual that they do walk-ins for days to celebrate the glacier in Cusco, for example, in the past was just with coca leaves and offerings to the earth and fire and all this. After the Spanish, they had to mix it with a religious saint. Probably the saint of Moises or something like that. They still following the same walking and offerings, but mix it together now with a religious value on it. And it has been for years now that people keep these traditions, but I would say it's both, because when you are there in these traditions right now, people do both things. They do offerings to the earth, and they do also celebrations to the Virgin or to the saint. So it's really an interesting mix with both situations.
It's still keeping the original way of things and, integrating something new into it, which gets me to my next question, which is, what are some of those core practices or traditions that are still passed down today from generation to generation?
Yeah, I would say that family is an important thing for us, because I travel a lot to Europe, to North America, and I haven't seen this connection that we have with parents and relatives. For example, many of us, we still live with our parents until we get married or before we get married, because it's part of our culture to keep together, or we take care of our parents. We don't have these places where we send our parents and then we are living apart. No, it was all together. Also, for holidays, we used to hang out together with families and have big meals together with the cousins, with the grandparents. And that can happen like probably every month or every 2-3 times a month, because we have a lot of holidays, and it's okay. It's not like once in a year or twice in a year like other countries. We do hang out together with families a lot, and that's very, very traditional. And also like eating eating together, like this is part of like the traditional thing, to have fun, like to share, to cooking together in these holidays, or to go out for eating.
So we live in a very tech-driven world these days. How do these traditions play a part in modern life? I mean, how are they being adapted by the younger generation?
This is also a very interesting question, because this is a problem we are having these days, especially with the people who right now are the farmers of potatoes or quinoa, which are our main resources in Peru, our main food in Peru. Like potato, for us, we have over 3,000 types of potatoes in Peru. And they're farmers. They have in their garden like 100 types, and they know every single name. And unfortunately, most of the children, they are not following these traditions. They are not following this knowledge. But there are some institutions or NGOs that are trying to put some of the knowledge of this on the applications or on technology. So I think there are people making efforts on this, but still I think it's like a hard work to keep doing in the next years.
Can you paint a picture for us of the biggest festival in Peru and, the sights, the sounds, and the significance of it?
Yeah, the biggest one for sure is Inti Raymi. This is a festival to celebrate the sun in Cusco, which is the city of the Incas. And this celebration is related with the solstice, the winter solstice, which is in June. The party every year is celebrated on the 24th of June. In the previous generations, the sun was the main god, because without the sun, you don't have farms, you don't have, nice weather. It's the vitamin for everybody. So they respect a lot of the sun, and that was the main god, and this celebration runs around the sun. Still, along the city in Cusco, it lasts for like a week or 2 weeks of people dancing in the main plazas, like showing off the different like instruments that they have. We have a very traditional instrument that is called pututo. Pututo is it's an instrument made by shell from the ocean, because in the past Incas used to trade a lot with people from the ocean and the jungle as well. So they blow this pututo, and the sound is like a healing for the soul. It's very intense, and it's very like, the vibration is really interesting. So yeah, you can see all these colorful people dancing and sharing everything in that week of Inti Raymi in Cusco.
This is a bit of a strange question. Are you able to give us a short breakdown of what life is like in the city what life is like in the mountain regions and then what life is like in the rainforest regions. Obviously, they're all different, but for people like me who haven't seen it or experienced any of it, I'm forming a picture in my mind that just what assumptions I make just based on social media.
Yeah, totally different for sure. Well, people in the city, well, we have the technology around us. I think it's pretty much like in any big city. No, we are mostly in our houses. Technology runs everything, but we hang out a lot in the parks because, especially in Lima, Lima doesn't have like a strong extreme weathers. Like our lowest is 15 Celsius. So we still hang out like around like in the parks and doing sports and all this stuff. But of course, we're like city people. The people in the Andes and in the jungle as well, they're very traditional. They still wear their traditional clothes. Sometimes I get requests from crews that want to film traditional stuff in Peru, and they ask me, "Oh, we want to film a traditional community, but we don't want to follow the touristic areas." And it's funny because it looks touristic by picture how people dress, but people do actually dress like that. Most of the time, anywhere in the Andes, especially in the area of Cusco, it's normal.
What is the dress?
It's like farming dresses. Like for women, it's like a colorful skirt and colorful like, hats, and a lot of layers of alpaca things because it's very cold, and sandals, and the guys also like pants, and yeah, just traditional stuff that you recognize is very indigenous and colorful. Also, they use their tools for doing farming because Peru is a country that do a lot of farming. It's our main resources are food. And in the past, the Incas used to have these biggest terraces, like terraces to grow different food according to the different altitudes of the lands. But in these terraces, you cannot bring cows or machines to do the farming because it's like stairs in the mountain. So what they do is they use some tools that are like sticks that you push with your feet on the earth, and this is a way that you just take out the land, and then you put the seeds, and then you cover it with earth again. And that's the only way to work in the terraces is by hand. There's no machine, there's no animal that can help you. And the way that they work to make this happen is to work in communities. Like if we in the community live like, I don't know, 20 people. So one day or 1 week we work in my farm, and then next week we all together work in the next farm, and like this until they finish all together. And they also do stuff like when they have to build, public roads or public entries for their community, they also do it together. Or when they clean the channels, for example, there are many water channels from the Inca times that they still use it in their communities as like clean water and all this stuff. And they have to clean it every year, also with a festival related with water and all offerings and everything. And they do it with a lot of respect, but all together. So the people in the Andes still keep this community work and community understanding on how to make things together. And then people in the rainforest and in the jungle, those people are more like, I would say, wild in a way, because the jungle is more intense and it's more big, and you can get lost. So the people who live there really have the sense to understand the animals around. I have been in the jungle with people there, and it's insane how I can recognize the sounds of this bird or this smell. It smells weird. That might be a snake close to here. But they also have a really close connection with nature and also with water, which is the Amazon, which is the most important river in Peru. And also they have their languages, no? And they have a very strong connection also with the plants. Most of the plants that can heal mental health problems are from the jungle. We have the ayahuasca, we have also cambo, which is a frog that has a thing in their body that can heal people. And we have the Icaros, which are the songs that people sing in order to heal also people. The forest is like the pharmacy of medicines, and that's a really interesting understanding from them that we still keep having, fortunately, until these days.
The rainforest sounds, like you said, wild. So I'm assuming it's not an easy place for foreigners or visitors to actually go there.
Yeah. You have to be adventurous if you want to go to the jungle in Peru. But it's all doable. It's just like a different world. Even for me, that comes from Lima, it's my country. It's still like wild. Because you have to be aware that there are mosquitoes. You have to be aware about the humidity, the weather. You have to be aware that anytime can rain. And then the boats are not really sophisticated, but anything can happen, in the river. Maybe the boat doesn't work anymore or something like that, but there's always a solution. The jungle is very wild, and but it's also very amazing, because that's the place where you really feel that, oh my God, I belong to nature. No, we just born in a place like that, with no cities, with no concretes. And that's when you realize, gosh, like, if I will be here just alone, how can I survive? I don't know anything about nature anymore. But it's very interesting, like, all what you can learn in the jungle.
Okay, so culture can be expressed through food. You mentioned that families eat together, or families get together at least 1 to 3 times a month at minimal. What are some other rituals or customs related to food, or some main dishes that are always a part of those gatherings?
One of the main traditional dishes that comes from generations from the past, that is also related as part of the offering to the earth, it's called pachamanga. And that dish is a dish where you put some meats, could be chicken, pork, beef, and beans. We call it habas, which is special beans from Peru, and some potatoes under the stones, and it's cooked just with hot stones. And then after a few hours, then it's ready, and then you open it, and that's the main food that most of Peruvians have shared with families. This is a really traditional one, usually from the Andes. Then ceviche, well, it's part of that coast also, because we were for generations fishermen people, and then we have a variety of fishes as well in the coast. So yeah, those are the main ones, I will say.
Now I want to talk about how people think, the values that guide them, and their actions. So let's talk about the way Peruvians approach life. What would you say are the core values that guide Peruvians in making decisions?
Yeah, I would say, like, family is very important for people to take decisions. For us, like, the take care of our parents, like, when they get old, is an important thing. So most of the people, for example, most of the children try to live close to the parents when they get married, or we, like, visit them often. And also, people don't really like work far away from them. And also, because Peru is not a rich country, also people try to save money in most of the valuable things, like food, or to have for transportation and stuff. And in that sense, something that I discovered just in the recent years is, like, we don't take drugs in that way. Peru is a country that, even though people think that we produce cocaine and all this stuff, as Peruvians, I will say, people don't smoke or take drugs, like, as part of their fun or as part of their recreational thing. And that's because we don't have any support from the government if we don't work. So people have to work every single day to eat. Also, another thing, for example, it's really weird that you will find people begging on the streets for money. And it's not because we don't have poor people, but poor people work. And then they can sell candies, they can sell anything on the streets, but never beg for people. I will say never, but really, really rarely people beg for money. So
I guess leading off of that, how do Peruvians view success? Is there a certain thing that is unique for your culture?
yeah, Peruvians do anything to work. This is something I always tell people, because we are so creative in a way. We invent any job just to work. To give you an example, there is a guy who does this recreation of a love story that happened years ago. And that story is related that a guy jumps to the ocean from a cliff. So there is a guy who recreates this love story in the coast of Lima and jumps every single day. He has been jumping for more than 25 years, every single day, to recreate that story. And there are buses that comes to that point to give, tips to him, to see him. In that way, Peru is kind of like an informal country. So we don't really have to have a company or anything in order to get incomes from people. Just you can sell anything or do anything and then just ask for donations or put your price. I'm very proud to say that Peruvians, we are very creative.
Is there a particular way that Peruvians deal with emotions that are tough everywhere?
I will say that we talk to each other a lot. Something that I have seen that countries like in Europe or North America, they have laws because people is very kind of conservative in that way to not be open about their feelings. Oh my God. No, Peruvians, we are like, you just go outside of your house and then just start talking your problems with the people from the market. And then all of a sudden you are in the market and someone is telling you their problems of their family and something like that. So I think that helps a lot because we are really open up about any situation. We are used to like to share our sadness or anger or just you are frustrated about something. And then they start like giving you suggestions and advices. So like not even your friends, it's just like random people sometimes. Like, it's just like a normal conversation for us to share our personal life. This is what I really love about Peru in general.
What aspect of Peruvian culture would you want everyone to experience?
I would say social life. Because this is something I have seen changing a lot when I have been traveling in Europe and North America. And I have seen how many people struggle to feel lonely in the way they live in these countries is very different. And I will say like this social life, to be around people or to just share your life with anybody around, it's very healing, and it makes you feel in peace in many ways, because everybody have problems, situations, stress, anxiety. But if you don't share it with people, it feels like you are the only one who are suffering this. And yeah, so I think it's important, this social interaction and human connection with other people, that I feel sad that other countries have been lost this already. And I'm still happy that we have this in Peru very easy.
Let's shift into talking about tourism a little bit and how visitors can truly appreciate Peru in a way that honors that local culture. So first, I know this topic is very passionate to you, safety. So talk to me a little bit about safety and what you feel visitors should know, misconceptions, that sort of thing.
This is very interesting because I always hear like, oh, in general, South America sounds dangerous. And I'll say like, yes, South America is totally different than Europe or North America. But at the same time, it's not that bad as people put it on the news or on social media. Peru is one of the safest country actually in South America. We don't have these cartels or things that happens maybe in Mexico or Colombia or Brazil, which for me is more dangerous. But Peru, in terms of safety, I'll say like the most common thing that could happen is someone rob you like your cell phone or your money or something like that. Of course, you don't go to places that looks sketchy or at night alone. It's like basic awareness that you can have when you travel. Apart from that, and that can happen in Lima because it's a big city. Outside of Lima, it's really like safe in general terms. And I can confirm to you this with a last experience that I had with one of the filming crews who came here, actually with Nikolai Coster-Waldau, which was the one actor of Games of Thrones. And all the team, before they came here, they were really concerned about the safety because, of course, he's a very popular actor. And they request me a few things in terms of safety, and of course I did it. But it was just after the first day that they were here, there's like, we don't need that anymore. He was just hanging around in Lima alone, in Cusco alone, no problem. Of course, people recognize him sometimes, as per pictures, but that's it.
What are some things that tourists should be mindful about in terms of respecting local culture?
Yeah, I mean, people normally is very friendly here. They will never like tell you that you're bothering them or anything. The only thing I would say, like, if you ever do something with them in terms of tourism or pictures or whatever you need from them when you're traveling, just try to thank them in a way, not necessarily with money, but if you, for example, give them something in exchange from your country, that's very valuable. Like a cookie, a cracker, I don't know, a small toy from your country that you can actually exchange with them and make them feel special in a way that they are sharing their knowledge with you. That's a thing that I will say is very appreciated by them.
Yeah. You mentioned one last thing because didn't really know about it until you said it in the beginning. So tell me about the coca leaf. And so it's significant to Peruvians in a way that's medicinal and very healthy. But because it is the source of cocaine, the assumption is wrong that it's drugs, basically, right?
This is what people think. Even people think, oh, if you like chew a lot of coca leaves, then you have the same reaction of cocaine, and it's not like that. So coca leaf is one of the most sacred plants, if not the sacredest plant, in Peru and in other countries in South America as well, like Bolivia, Colombia also have them, and there are different varieties of those. But these have been a sacred plant because of all the properties that it has. It has like 20 of other things like, vitamins, potassium, magnesium. But also the Incas used to use that plant to not feel hungry or thirsty when they were working. And also they have a lot of energy with that plant. But the energy, it's a stable energy. It's not even like a coffee because coffee has these peaks and then down. But with coca leaves, you can have this energy, but it's an energy that is stable, that doesn't create this craziness in your nerve system or anything like that. So it's a healthy plant. It also helps with high altitude. It helps with the stomach problems, with headaches and all this stuff. And the misconception is with cocaine because people think that it's just like mixing these leaves and then you create cocaine. But no, actually cocaine is an industrial product that it uses coca leaf, but it's mixed with other chemicals and even gasoline and pee and just really toxic stuff. And they create this with the coca leaves as well, but with all this mix of things. And this is a really, intense debating because for us, like, this is a sacred plant that we cannot find in any other country. And also people don't export this because they feel like, oh, this is a drug, but this is not a drug. And it's actually very important for many cultures in Peru.
How is it taken in Peru? Does it have different forms?
Yeah, the coca leaves, for tea, you just put it on hot water, just the coca leaves, and then you just drink the water. And for high altitude sickness, you chew it, you put it in your mouth aside, and it's like a gum. You just stay there until it feels like enough, and then you just throw it away. And sometimes also you can have the flower of the coca leaves and just make a tea with that as well.
Okay, so I know we're over time now. So I always like to ask our guests to give us a little project that our audience can try at home. So it can be a quick recipe, a greeting, a custom, anything that helps us experience Peru wherever we are in the world. So what do you have for us today?
We have, especially for kids and children, it's a very particular thing that parents do, which is related with an egg. For example, when a child is crying without no reason, or when the child is sick for something that you don't understand, and maybe it's at midnight and you don't know what to do, what is the first thing parents do is like take an egg from the kitchen, pass the egg to the whole body of the babies, and then break it in a glass of water and see what was the problem on him. Like maybe someone gave him bad energy, or he was scared or something. And then after that, the baby sleeps well and solve problems. So that's one of the also traditional things we do. You can make a comparison, like just break a normal egg and you break the egg after passing to the children, and then you can see the differences. And you can see how the egg with the children, it has a lot of these more messy things
Oh,
on the water.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
interesting. Okay, so
That is supposedly like it's already took everything out from the children on the egg. That now, because the egg took all this, it's gone. So after that, your children will stop crying and they will sleep like very peaceful. Every parent in Peru knows how to do that.
Well, my
The
kid,
egg.
my kid keeps coming into my room at night because he said he's scared. So, the next time he does that, I'm going to do this. And for those of you at home who try this, please take a picture, please take a video and post it with the hashtag TBH with Vitra Peru so that we know it's from our Peru episode and I will repost it. Okay, Lizeth, thank you so much for giving us a glimpse of life and culture in Peru. We talked about so many things, but I'm sure we just scratched the surface. I know there's so much more.
Thank you so much, Vitra. It has been exciting to share my culture, and I'm looking forward to see these episodes.
You can follow Lizeth on Instagram at Lizeth_films_Peru and on Facebook at Lizeth.Yarlike. For those listening or watching, thank you so much. And please make sure you follow me on Instagram at TBH with Vitra to join my journey to talk to one woman from every country. We have so many places to experience together. Until next time, stay curious and stay kind.